Now, in some breaking news, a trial date has been set for former US President Donald Trump to face charges of withholding top-secret documents. Well, let's go straight to our correspondent, Mike Hanna. He joins me from Washington, D.C. Mike, I see a federal judge has set the 20th of May as the potential start date for the trial. Talk us through that timing. I believe that's very close to the Republican primary, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. Well, the judge, Hanna, has been hearing argument from both sides. The prosecution wanted the trial to start as soon as December. The defense wanted the trial to start after the elections because they argued very strongly that the trial could impact on Donald Trump's chances during those elections in November. But what she has done is actually split the difference, as it were. She's gone halfway between what each side wants. She's decided that the trial will be set for 2 weeks, beginning May the 20th. Now, that is bang after the nomination period for the Republican candidacy. It is before the election. So this is going to have potentially a major impact on the election process itself.
Mike, I know that everyone's had to talk about it, as a number of Republican candidates have spoken about the whole issue of this trial. But do we yet have a sense of how much this might really impact things for Donald Trump politically?
Well, it's very difficult to tell because, once again, in the whole scenario, since Trump was indicted on these 38 counts along with his longtime aide, it has been split very much between those who support Donald Trump, who reject the charges, those who oppose Donald Trump, who welcome the charges, saying that he must be held accountable for these actions. So it is a divided country in terms of the impact on Donald Trump and in terms on the impact of the election itself. Even within the Republican Party, there's been very strong criticism in some quarters of these charges being brought against Donald Trump. I must add one very important point here as well, and that concerns the judge in this trial, Hanna. Now, she was appointed by Trump in 2020. She heard a case in which the Trump defense argued that she must bring in outside review of the papers that the FBI had seized from Trump's residence. Now, this was a very controversial decision and was overruled by the appeal court with some very harsh words for the judge from that appeal court. So clearly here it appears the judge is now trying to show that she is as level, as even as possible. And that's another significance in the fact that this trial date is set halfway between what the prosecution wanted and what the defense wanted, not giving an inch either way.
And Mike, these are also, as we know, not the only charges that Trump faces. Can you remind us of the various different charges that the former president faces and how this sits amidst all of that?
Well, let's look at this particular case. It is 38 charges have been brought against the former president and also his aide, Walter Nauta. These charges basically arise from the fact that he took documents when he left the White House, but also, very importantly, that the argument is that he attempted to conceal the fact and then attempted to obstruct justice when authorities wanted to reclaim the documents. So these are a series of charges, some linked to the Espionage Act, not that he's accused of spying, but the charges do fall under the Espionage Act. So you've got that. But you've also got the special prosecutor, Jack Smith, who's brought these charges, looking into allegations of Trump attempting to subvert the results of the January 20th election. Now, as I speak, there is a grand jury sitting in D.C. which is hearing evidence about this now. Trump has been issued a letter of demand saying that he's a target in this investigation. Within coming days, that grand jury is likely to decide whether or not Donald Trump is charged with relation to that, which is once again add to these multiple charges that former President Trump is facing.
Mike Hanna there with all the latest for us from Washington, D.C. Interesting times indeed. Thank you, Mike.